So what I'm going to speak is the resistant and the calcified lesion, and we'll discuss about the orbital, rotablator, and the shockwave strategy. Because we have no strong data about this technology, comparing the different strategy. So I just share with you my experience. I'm lucky because I have the free device in my cath lab, and I have a small experience, and I just want to share with you this experience. The goals of the treatment, first, there are two objectives. We want to reduce the plaque, and we want to modify the plaque. And for that, of course, we want two objectives: to well oppose the stent, because we know that if the stent is not well opposed, these are in relation with a very increased MACE, with a risk of stent thrombosis, with a risk of restenosis, etc. And of course, with these techniques, we want to avoid complication, because when we not well prepare this calcified lesion, we use very high pressure balloon, and there's a risk of perforation, there is a risk of dissection, and with these three technologies, we want to avoid this complication, and we need these specific tools. So the three tools, on the left part, the old one, 30 years ago, we start with the rotablation. There is evolution with now a RotaPro. You can treat the patient only with your finger, without the pedal. There is an increased amelioration also with the wire, with the new RotaDrive. It's better than the old one. And you use several burrs just to cut and to abrade the lesion, the calcified lesion. On the right part, the new one arrived recently, 2 years ago in Europe, is the orbital, the diamond back 360 degree. It's really a new device. I think it's very promising. It's necessary to use a specific wire, but totally different from the rotablator, very, very useful. And in the middle, the lithotripsy, totally different, of course, with a balloon deliver pulse, and the wave cracks the lesion. So if we summarize, the mechanism of actions of the three devices are totally different. With the rotablation, we abrade the plaque. With the lithotripsy, we break the plaque, so we prepare the death of the plaque. And with orbital atherectomy, we abrade and also we break up the plaque with the pulsatile forces generated by centrifugal force, and it's like a shockwave-like effect. So on this slide, I summarize the different characteristics of the three devices. You see the rotablation in terms of mechanism of action. It's a front cutting, only unidirectional action. So there is a risk of trap the burr in very calcified lesion. The orbital is the second atherectomy system with a bidirectional sanding. You can treat the patient antegrade and retrograde without the risk of block the crown, and you had pulsatile forces just to generate a fracture in the wall of the coronary artery. Lithotripsy, only a fragmentation. Of course, it's not a system, it's not a device who perform atherectomy. The main difference is the wire that you can use, you had to use for the device, specific one for rota and orbital. And the specificity of the orbital wire is a wire with a nitinol core, and it's very, very easy to manipulate and to advance in tortuous vessel. The great advantage of the lithotripsy is to work with your standard guide wire. So we have several algorithms based on the intravascular imaging, especially OCT. But in France, as you know, that it's not easy to use the IVUS or OCT images because we have, it's very cost effective. So you see, this is only expert advisors. It's not a recommendation. And you see, we can use, and this algorithm is focused on the lithotripsy. I'm not sure that it's really the good one. Exactly the same with some differences in the scoring of the assessment of the lesion. So, advantage and limit of the technology, I think for the rota is really efficacy on the lesion uncrossable with the balloon. It's old device, we know, very, very nice. But the limitation is to use several burr. If you want to have a superficial action, we have no deep action. The wire is specific and not easy to use, and we have some complication. With orbital, only one crown, one size of crown, 1.25, and you can treat all the vessel from 2.5 millimeter to 4 millimeter. You have an action, superficial and also a deep action, and it's really available for the nodular lesion that I'm going to show you an example after. Of course, is a contraindication if there is a stent in place, and it's necessary to have a physician certification. For the lithotripsy, it's very simple. Only a deep action. You can use your wire, workhouse wire. You can protect the collateral, and even if it's off-label, it's available in instant, not well opposed. So it's very interesting with the limitation of the number of pulses, the profile of the balloon, and we have only one length for the balloon. So my preference, lithotripsy, if we have an undilatable lesion, you have the imprint of on the balloon, I think it's a very, very useful technique. The ostial lesion on RCA or left main, it's a very good indication. When you have a focal deep calcification, I think it's a good tool. And of course, when you have an underexpanded stent, it's really the safe tool to treat this patient. Atherectomy, rotational atherectomy, when it's impossible to cross any small balloon on the very, very tight stenosis, and preference and see if you have a focal on superficial lesion. Orbital, very interesting in a long calcified lesion with a different diameter from the proximal and the distal part, because with the crown, 1.25 millimeter crown, you can treat the lesion from 2.5 millimeter to 4 millimeter. I think it's very interesting, very safe in tortuous vessel, and of course in a superficial and with a deep action, I think it's very interesting. So a few examples. You see a very tight stenosis on this circ, and possible to cross with a very small balloon. So I decide, even if there is some tortuosity, to start with the Rota Pro with a small burr, and I advance very, very gently, and after that, I can implant the stent very safely with a good result. This stenosis on the right coronary with resistant, with a high pressure balloon, just 60 pulses with a shockwave, and a good success to implant the stent safely. An example of undeployed diagonal stent, and you see after shockwave, excellent result. On this long and tortuous LED lesion with two bifurcation, very calcified old patient, we decide to treat this lesion with orbital. It was the first patient during PCR 2 years ago, and we are very proud to show that. And you see a very, very nice result. Another example of orbital in this nodular calcification, and you see even if the result is not perfect angiographically, I think the patient is well. And the last case, a very long right coronary artery lesion with orbital and a long stent, of course. So just to summarize, we have several algorithms based on expert advisors with these 3 specific tools. Nevertheless, we are waiting for scientific evidence with Calypso, comparing an approach with and without imaging, endovascular imaging, ICAR, which compare rotablation to lithotripsy, Eclipse compare orbital to balloon, stand balloon, high pressure balloon, and Reforce, it's a French registry to prove the safety and the efficacy of the orbital atherectomy. Of course, everything that I said allows to be the availability of the device. I'm lucky, as I said, and sometimes we use a synergic tool with lithotripsy plus rotablation. Thank you for your attention.